Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. My name is Gail Snyder. I'm the Executive Director for Dementia Friendly Fort Worth. We are proud to offer this program with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and United Way of Tarrant County. These programs are recorded and are made available for future use through a YouTube channel. And today, Peggy is back with us after a couple of weeks of holiday, and we will be talking about art related to Happy New Year. Peggy, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Perfect, thank you. All right, let me turn on the screen. All right, well, I know most of you, some faces are new. Martha, the Martha that's on microphone quiet. And John, I don't know if we've met before, but I'm Peggy. I work at the in the education department here at the museum. And
That's
so
a cool job.
Pardon me?
It's a cool job.
You know what? I love it. Each day is different and fun here. And so as Martha, who's with her little birdie, explained, something new. And so the beauty of us doing these virtually is that I'm able to show you artwork that isn't on view right now because we can see them on the screen. We don't have to see them on the wall. So we're seeing a lot of artworks that aren't often on view, or if they've been on view, they'll be down for several years because they need a break from all the light. So without further ado, we are talking about Happy New Year. And man, aren't we glad to see 2020 behind us. I don't know about you, Brian.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So this is our first photograph, our first artwork of the new year, and it's an artwork entitled New Year's Eve, New York City. So what do we see?
It's like everybody's kissing and hugging at midnight.
Yes. Yeah.
Street scene.
A street scene. Yeah, really good, Yetta.
Yeah, it looks like they just gathered to watch the ball fall.
Yeah, if they're in New York, can you kind of set it? Do you know where in New York they are?
The couple in the middle are kissing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're kissing. The other one right next to them is just hugging.
Yep.
Any guesses where in New York they might be?
They're probably in Times Square.
Where?
Did they have the ball in 1950? I don't know when they started it.
You know what? I don't know. But it looks like I would think so. Gosh, I feel like the ball's been around for a long time, but I don't know for a fact.
When did the New Year's Eve ball in Times Square begin?
Times Square Ball was formed in 1907.
So, yeah,
Okay.
and I think it looks like most people's backs are to us, so they might all be looking towards that direction of, I think the ball is on top of this building right here.
Yeah.
We were there one year for that. It was, oh my God, it was fantastic.
Was it fun?
Really?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh,
Was it crazy? Did you feel kind of like people everywhere, crowded
just
fun?
I mean, it's just, oh wow.
It's funny when
So far, I haven't forgotten that
You want
experience.
it back?
I love that. How special. When I was pulling these photographs or artworks for this talk, it was funny seeing so many people together and so close. And it made me miss doing these types of things, you know, just
Yes.
being in a big group of people and celebrating. It was kind of like a funny feeling I had when I saw this picture. Does anyone else kind of feel that way, seeing a big group of people together like this?
Yes. I'm
Is that
always
it?
looking to see if it's a current picture or if it's an old picture to see if they're being masked or not, if they're compliant.
Yeah, it's like longing for the good old times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, Yetta.
And I don't know if you guys were watching like ABC or NBC when they would show Times Square this year for New Year's. It was almost eerie how empty and quiet it was.
Really?
These pictures, and it's just you can kind of feel the cold. You can hear the loud people, you know, talking and commotion and the horns, people's New Year's horns, and this photograph is a perfect slice of life from that type of celebration.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
So this particular photographer, his name's Dan Weiner, and he was from New York. He spent a long time doing advertising photography, and then he ended up completely switching gears after World War II and really focusing on photojournalism. And so that really is that capturing the daily, the slices of life like we were talking about, and not too much staging, but capturing things for what they were. And so this is one photograph from a whole series of that night. He was just walking around Times Square and snapping really sweet pictures. This is the only one we have in our collection, but this particular photographer is in almost any major museum's collection in the US. And they have pictures of like 3 teenage boys all wearing their New Year's hats with their arms around each other, or a horn, someone selling the New Year's, the little horns on the street. So there's some people he knew, some people he was just kind of passing through. And this was during a time of photography where this street life, candid, almost ability to kind of see yourself in any one of these photographs, because it's very recognizable in terms of the scene you can experience, or you can relate to what you're seeing. So that's what this photographer was really known for. And he died actually 39 years old. He died in a plane crash. So he was photographing for a lot of magazines, Fortune, Collier's, Variety, different magazines. And then he unfortunately had an untimely death. So while he was really gaining notoriety, he was then no longer producing.
Oh.
I thought this was a really sweet, this is like the definition, when you think New Year's, you kind of think of this type of scene.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go, so I'm gonna preface this with all of the artworks I'm showing you aren't necessarily New Year's, but to me have an air of something you might be doing on New Year's Eve. So this one is specifically New Year's Eve. But this one might be what like your dining rooms looked like in years past. I don't know about the standing on the table part, but you know, enough wine is served, anybody could be standing on the table. So here is
Wearing a lampshade.
Say that again.
She could be wearing a lampshade.
Yeah, yes. So we always called that the lampshade award. Whoever seemed to be having the most fun that night, I won that award. So we've got here a still from a movie. It's a silent film, Affairs of Anatole. And this is the photographer Carl Struess. And Struess we have seen now for the last couple of visits. He's the one that had the really cool Christmas cards. He's the one that he moved to LA, and we had a picnic picture of them on the beach, and we were trying to figure out who the little kid was. And this is that same photographer. But this is a still from a movie he took when he was working with Cecil B. DeMille.
Oh.
Awesome.
So this
That is awesome.
So this movie was made in 1921, and Cecil B. DeMille had hired him. That's what brought him to LA. To hired him to be a second cameraman. So he helped with getting the right shot. He helped with staging within a scene to make sure people's lighting was right. He was really good at creating that visual effect, which is what DeMille was really looking for. So what do we see here that kind of reminds you maybe of a New Year's situation?
Champagne,
Champagne,
toast.
toast.
I might forget it.
The ladies
Dressed up.
the ladies were dressed
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
They're all super dressed up. They
All really dressed up.
and all that for a
Dinner.
special event.
Dinner.
Dinner,
Having
that's right.
dinner.
Is that a tuxedo?
It looks to be.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Black tie?
Yeah, black tie for sure. Can any of you remember, and it might even be the loungewear you had on this year, can you remember a really fun outfit you wore for New Year's Eve?
Oh, we were so 70s. We didn't ever really dress up for New Year's Eve.
So what would you wear? What did you have on? Like jeans and some sort of sweater?
Jeans and sweater, depending on where we were, sweater if we were up in Kansas, or a coat. And we moved down to Texas. It was maybe a shirt, long sleeve shirt, or maybe sometimes a sweater.
So you wouldn't bring out your tux with the tails and everything?
No, my tux is always at the cleaners.
I only got to go to one place fancy ever for a New Year's Eve, and I had made a dress in homemaking class in high school that was a blue brocade. And I wore that blue brocade for that New Year's Eve, and it was the most magical night ever. But I've never dressed up before.
Good.
Say again, Peggy?
Where did you go, or what did you do that allowed you to wear such a fancy dress?
I was visiting an aunt in Memphis, Tennessee, and the man that I was dating had relatives in Memphis, and they had a membership to the Top of the Mark, which was like the top of Reunion Tower. And you had to be a member to get in, and they loaned him their membership for the night so he could take me. We were both Texans, but we were coming through from visiting friends.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Thank you for that memory.
I love hearing it. How about, and was anyone the host for a fancy party, kind of like what we see here? Yetta, you pointed out the nice dinner.
Speak up.
Did you guys ever do, like, you cooked a big dinner and brought out all the nice china? Did anyone have that type of New Year's?
Not for New Year's. We used to do it for Christmas, when we would have a Danish Christmas luncheon for all our friends.
Cool.
Oh,
They would come, we would all not dress up like this, but the men had jackets on, and and I took out the nice the porcelain and all of that. That was a lot of fun.
That is
Usually Christmas and Easter is when my mother brought out all of the china,
fun.
and made a elaborate, of the table. Of course, we didn't appreciate it as kids, it was just dishes to us.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, and your mom probably slaved over it all day, the night before, that had to hand wash every dish, every piece of silverware.
Absolutely. Couldn't put those in the dishwasher
Yeah.
if you had a dishwasher.
If you had a dishwasher, yeah.
Yeah.
And like even the beautiful stemware. I'm going to go to the next artwork because it fits. The beautiful stemware that they're holding with their drinks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those beautiful glasses.
It was pretty.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes, it is.
Did anyone have special cups? Like, do you remember using, like your mom using, or your grandparents pulling out special china or cups or anything for Christmas, New Year's, anything like that?
Christmas.
Christmas, yeah.
I fixed sauerkraut for
Yeah.
Christmas dinner. Because when
Here.
I always wanted to.
Yes, you can tell them and they'll be able to hear you.
So anyway.
John's mom has Christmas dishes. They're all different.
That's pretty. Yeah, there's.
Every
My
plate
grandmother
was
had the spode ones with the Christmas tree in the middle.
Yes, spode. And
I always wished I had those and never did. Did you feel special when you were eating off of them?
yes, but she used them year round too. But she has gold silverware. I mean, gold colored, but it's gold silverware. I don't know. It's not gold plated, is it, John?
No,
Surely
it's not.
It's just gold colored, but it looks like gold. You're eating with gold
I know,
silverware.
it is gold.
It's gold, like dusted or something.
You're getting an arm workout every time you're taking that salad fork to your.
Yeah.
But I remember growing up, we always had that Martinelli's sparkling cider.
Oh, yeah.
At New Year's Eve, we had a Christmas, and then of course we had like extra bottles from Christmas, so we would drink it on New Year's Eve. And I don't know why my mom would I guess she really trusted us. We would use like my grandmother's nice glass cup, champagne flutes. I don't know how they survived us. We were a rough bunch. And we would always feel so fancy drinking from it. That's one of my favorite things. Now, I feel like I would never trust my kids to touch anything like that. It would be shattered in like 2 seconds flat.
Yeah. See, none of my family really had china. I think that we started using. First time I had dinner on china was when I was with Myra's folks. I think when we were celebrating Christmas or Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My brother and his wife got a lot of fancy things for wedding presents, and I can recall being at their house on Thanksgiving once, and she served water. She served water in her crystal, and she said, "Now these are $50 a stem, and if you break it, I'll let you pay for it."
Gosh.
I
Oh,
told
that sucks the joy out of it.
doesn't it? I told her I wanted a jelly jar. Just take my water out and put it in a jelly jar. I don't want to be responsible.
Oh, how funny.
We didn't like her like much then.
Yeah, not getting off on the good foot, huh? Well,
Well,
this particular artist, I don't know if any of you recognize the name. His name's James McNeil Whistler.
Whistler's mother, Whistler.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, wow, it is.
Oh.
So Whistler was a very, very famous painter, but he was also really, really a prolific etcher. And so during his 50 years of creating, he had made over 500 etchings in his lifetime.
Oh.
And this is the only still life he ever did.
Wow.
So
How
When
big
you
is
say
the thing?
etching, what is that?
So the process is you're working on a wax plated metal sheet, and you can either, well, it depends. Wax plated is how he would do it, and you would carve into the wax to create the scene you want, and then you pour ink on it, and the ink pulls where the divots are, and then you press it, you roll it, and then you get the reverse of what you're seeing. So the wax repels any of the ink and water.
Because we got a book going.
Yeah. And so some people carve, pour acid into metal. That's another way of doing etching. He would do wax and then carve in.
So Peggy, how big is this etching?
Oh man, you know what? And I wrote down every other size, but this one, and I because I knew, Don, you love that, which everyone should love the dimensions. I don't know, but I've seen other etchings of his, and etchings aren't typically that big, so probably not much larger than a sheet of like computer paper.
Okay.
Yeah, they're usually pretty small, just because the amount of detail you want to carve into it. But yeah, so he was a really good draftsman, which translated really well for etching, and then he was a painter too, and so this is what put him really on the map. This is what he's known for. But most collections have a ton of etchings from him because it's just he was constantly producing. He used to do topographical maps too, so he was really good at drawing.
Ooh, that takes a lot of patience.
And steady hand, geez.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna move on to another thing. Again, it's not New Year's, but it reminded me of something you might see at New Year's. These little kids with their sparklers. Does anyone have any memories of you holding sparklers, or your kids playing with sparklers, or the pots and pans?
Yeah.
Sure.
That was always my favorite part of 4th of July.
4th of July, yeah.
Yeah.
why do
You
you
swing them and make a circle.
Why do you think he named it chicken feathers?
If you look closely at the
There's-
white
Oh.
stuff
Yeah,
at the
there's chicken
bottom,
feathers on the ground.
they're all chicken feathers. So this particular photographer, his name is Keith Carter. He's still alive. He was born in 1948, and he's been producing for over 50 years. He has a really deep library of photographs. But he was he received a couple of grants that allowed him to photograph in very poor Black neighborhoods in different parts of the country. So that's a common theme in his artwork. And a common theme in his artwork was animals. Because he read, so he's a Texas, he lives in Beaumont, and he read something from a Black author from UT. And in it, he was talking about this mythology that people can come back as animals in your life. And he really loved that notion. So a lot of, like, you know, Martha, your bird might be a past friend that's now with you again. So he really loved that idea. And so a lot of his artworks either directly or indirectly relate to animals. So these chicken feathers here might be that nod to that mythology he really enjoyed.
I'm going to have to leave, folks.
All right,
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, Steve.
Bye.
So Peggy, I mean, coming back as an animal is like a Hindu belief.
You know, I think, I know you're right, it's Hindu, and I know with the caste system too, people work their way up or down. But I think a lot, like American Indian mythology has a lot of this, people coming back as dogs, or people. So I think universally there is a lot of people subscribe to that notion that, you know, I know blue jays and cardinals are two birds that a lot of people assign past, you know, like someone who's passed to. So there's something very relatable in that mindset, which was part of what he was really interested into, was creating. He was a photojournalist as well. He did very little staging. It was things he would often come across, or, you know, these kids, I don't think he staged. It was more like, oh, our picture's being taken. Let's get together for a picture. But he wanted to, every image he created, he was really thinking about, how can I create an image where other people can relate to it? So it's not necessarily the specificity of the image, more of the feeling or the relatability that you're pulling from it. So I think it's safe to say you may have some sort of memory, whether it's 4th of July or New Year's, where you can relate to being with siblings or neighbors or cousins, and you're running around with your sparklers.
Yes.
In whatever outfit you decided to dress yourself in that
Yeah.
This might have been Halloween.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Sprinklers. It's probably New Year's Day.
It doesn't say in our catalog. It doesn't say the month it was taken or what event it might have been. So all of these guesses could be.
Well, when I was growing up, I lived in South Carolina for a while, and fireworks were legal all year round. So there was you didn't have to have much of a special occasion to break out the sparklers.
Yeah.
It looks like it's probably summer according to that tree through the window.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's down
south. That's a really good notice. I mean, that detail. That's very true. And yeah, you can't see their faces too well. So again, it kind of contributes to this. I don't necessarily need to know those people, but I know the life that they're living, or I know that experience that they're having. The person doesn't matter so much as the overall feel.
The everyman experience.
Exactly. Martha, did you say that? That was
the everyman experience.
Yeah, that's great.
But, you know, something that all these kids have new, clean shoes on, so they're not in their
10% battery.
Yeah. Oh, what a good detail to notice, Don. Yeah.
Now, one of them's wearing flip-flops.
Yep, I see that too.
I didn't notice it until you said shoes.
Socks.
Bone socks, is that what you said?
Wool socks, keep my feet warm. I hate shoes.
I never understood at the beach when people would show up to the beach with tennis shoes with socks on. The claustrophobia I would get for sand in your shoes. I
hate sand.
But this particular photographer, you know, and I don't know where this was taken. There's no record of it, at least in our holdings. But he's from East Texas, and he actually teaches at Lamar University, the photographer. So I Texas is huge and there's a lot of places, so I did not know anything about Lamar, but it's in Beaumont, and so he lived there for a long time too prior to teaching, and so that he was really interested in capturing the scenes in that part of the world. So a lot of his artworks and photographs are of these similar types of scenes, people, mostly people with animals, people doing their day-to-day. We got one more, and this is a photographer we've looked at several times.
I love Elliot Porter.
Yes, good, Martha, good memory. We've seen him with his birds. We've seen him with his landscapes. Now we're seeing him with his churches in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
So it's not January 1st, but it's close to January 1st. It's December 25th he took this picture. And he was traveling throughout Mexico in 1954 and 1955 with one other photographer. And the two of them were set out to do two missions. One, take pictures of churches, church facades, church interiors that typically Catholic churches that were throughout the country celebrating the faith and the beauty of their religion. And then the other one was to celebrate the color of the culture and capturing different festivals and parties surrounding the church, but surrounding their culture in general, Mexican culture. So this was kind of a perfect fusion of that project. And then he and this woman produced a book in 1956, really focusing on the churches that they saw. And so this picture is in that book, but it's of a church, and it's fireworks for December 25th. So they were able to, and it looks like, again, a bunch of people gathering, which is so fun to see these days, but a bunch of people gathering to celebrate. Do you notice anything else strike you with this photograph?
Well, the scale of it, based on the people, it looks like it's a pretty substantial church.
You're right. Yeah, it does look big.
This is time lapse.
Are being set off from the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I heard someone say time lapse. I don't think it was time lapse in the same way we're thinking of it now. I think he had his shutter speed on very slow.
Yeah.
So it just registered as if it were a time lapse, but it was just taking a long time for that exposure to stick.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And Don, for you, this picture is 10 inches by 7 inches. So it's
Excellent. Thank you.
you.
Noted.
And the picture before of our friends with the chicken feathers, that was 15 by 15. So
Okay.
And what is dye imbibition print?
So this is a photographic printing technique, and it's typically used during this time of the world for color printing. So it's kind of a complicated process to explain, but boiled down, you print in one color at a time. So you would print all the cyan, you would print all blue first, and then you go back and you use the dye that would print all red or yellow, and so you're layering on the colors of the printing process.
Wow.
You can start to control how much red you want it to make it look a certain way, how much blue you want it to make it look a certain way. So this was, Elliot Porter was really, really good at developing in this particular method.
Any chance we'll have an exhibition of his anytime soon?
We had one in last December, so 2019 and 2020, of his birds.
Mm-hmm.
And that hadn't been out since, I believe, 1999. And so I don't know of any plans of a solo exhibition for him coming up here, but we have photographs and works on paper that rotate every 3 months because of that, like I've talked about before, that needing to rest the artwork. So I don't know if any porters are coming out. They're not in the next rotation, but there might be some after that. So
good deal.
It's always a surprise when you're in the galleries. You're like, when did that go up?
Yeah.
I remember years ago when I had my darkroom and I used to, you know, get my black and white film, put it in my little camera and
Cool.
develop it.
Did you ever develop color prints?
Huh?
Did you
I
develop
did
color
black
prints?
and white. I did black and white. I didn't mess with color. And then I would print some of the photos, and my younger daughter would help me because she thought it was such fun to mess with all those chemicals.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, but I loved it. And then that, you know, everything changed. Technology changed. And,
The printing, yeah. That's interesting you say that, Paulette, because a lot of the photographers we looked at today either worked with their parent who really enjoyed photography and that's what turned them on to photography. And then they later worked with their children who were interested in photography. So a lot of these, and not just this session alone, a lot of these photographers were introduced to photography through their parents. So it's really, that's special that you and your daughter were able to have that connection.
Cool.
thank you. It was.
All right, folks, that's all I got for you today.
Well, thank you.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course, I'm glad you guys are here. We had a good group today, and Gail, I didn't look ahead, so I have no idea what we're doing next week.
Let me see if I can help you out.
Fly blind every time, guys.
I used to work in the printing industry, and we called that CYMB
Yeah.
because it's cayenne, yellow, magenta, and black.
Or, yeah.
I'm sure that the registration was right, or you would see the little edges of the color. You've probably seen and stuff like that where you got a yellow or a
Cartoons.
pink halo around stuff.
Yeah.
Cartoons do that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not perfect.
My grandfather was a guard at the St. Louis Art Museum,
That's
which
cool.
was built for the World's Fair to celebrate the 100th birthday of the Louisiana Purchase.
Very cool.
So
that building is beautiful.
my favorite thing to do was go to the art museum because I wanted to see the mummies. Somebody had unwrapped a part of the mummy, and his big toe showed, and I always went.
I love that. I worked at the Denver Art Museum for a few years, and they had an Egyptian collection as well. And when you, all of the floors really, because there's so many ghost stories, but when you would go into the collections alone and the lights were still off, like sometimes you were cutting through in the morning, nothing freaked me out more than the Egyptian one and the colonial furniture one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't born on Halloween for no reason.
Yeah.
Put you in an art museum, and I'm sure you will see so many different ghosts. Oh.
Careful how you spell witch when you talk about me.
So next week we will be talking about mountains.
Oh, mountains.
That's good.
Yes.
All right, guys, get your best mountain stories ready. We'll talk
You
about
got
them next week.
Bob Ross, Happy Little Mountains,
Happy mountains.
Happy Mighty Mountains,
Yeah, that's what Beardstock was
All
thinking.
Mighty
when he was training.
Mountains.
See,
All right, friends.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Peggy.
Thank you, Peggy.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye. Next week.
bye.
it'll be a peak experience.
There you go. Love that.
All right, let's see what's up for tomorrow.
Cookies.
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 You're remembering our discussion from yesterday.
Yes.
Oh.
We will be back in the kitchen for a new recipe of white chocolate macadamia nut cookies.
Ooh,
Ooh.
John will love those.
And we will be singing again tomorrow, so we won't be there.
Okay, well, Hans and Yetta, just so you know, I have mixed it up for the first quarter, and we will be doing some cooking on Tuesdays.
Okay, all right.
So you won't miss them all.
Okay, good.
Did some
Good.
rearrangement just so that you could be there for some of the cooking sessions.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That is sweet
Thank
of
you.
you. Yeah.